school bus. Make a plankton too.
Take that!
On our magic school bus. Off to rip.
Welcome, class!
Hi, Miss Lizzo!
Oh, great, it's Isle. Today we're going to be learning about school reform! Get in the dirty school bus!
Alright, grab some Cheerios first.
On an average day in cheek-to-cheek farter school.
As progressive educators, we use public schools as an opportunity of Americanization.
How so?
As Elwood Cubberley argued in Changing Conception of Education, immigrant children can be educated to break up these groups of settlements, to assimilate and amalgamate these people as part of our race and to implement in their children, so far as can be done, the Anglo-Saxon conception of righteousness, law and order, and popular government.
At what age do these children begin to be educated?
We tend to begin to educate children as early as possible and make sure they stay long.
Why so young?
The earliest opportunity to catch the little Russian, the little Italian, the little German, Pole, Syrian, and the rest and begin to make good American citizens of them is the best way.
How can you catch them? Is school compulsory?
Good thing you asked. As of 1918, every state now has a compulsory school attendance.
How about when they're older?
Well, in 1890s, only 4% of American youth attended a high school. Now in the 1930s, it's gone up to 47%.
What exactly does their education entail?
The education varies. However, many schools now have included instruction such as health and family life. Now you can find programs that train boys in areas such as carpentry. As for girls, they can take sewing, cooking, and other life skill classes.
Thank you for giving us an idea. Bye-bye.
Okay, Isle, let's go see the natives to this country and learn about how brutal the police were towards them. Buffalo Bill once said, there are not enough Indians in the world to defeat the 7th Cavalry.
But why?
Natives were seen as the inferior race. Let's go learn more.
But why?
Back to the dirty school bus.
In 1871, the U.S. government finally ended the treaty system, eclipsing without completely abolishing the sovereignty of Native American nations.
What did this mean for the Native Americans then?
By 1880, many Native American tribes had been forcibly resettled on reservations, but they were still trying to adapt to the white ways.
Did anyone try and do anything?
Well, many reformers believed that the Native Americans must change their ways to blend in more with that of the white civilization.
That doesn't sound very helpful.
Well, it wasn't. However, there were some that were honestly outraged by the government's violation of treaties and the military enforcement of reservation policy.
Was there anyone in particular?
Well, Helen Hunt Jackson. She was a very strong activist for Native American rights and a renowned author and poet. Her interest in the subject began in Boston in 1879 at a lecture by Chief Standing Bear, who described the removal of the Ponca tribe from their reservation. She raised money and started petitions to get information out about what the natives went through. She also wrote the book, When a Century of Dishonor, which was published in 1881, and she also created the Women's National Indian Association, which also made petitions and got out information to help save the Native American tribe. Ah, the city, birthplace of political progressivism.
Political progressivism?
Yup! In other words, a stance against the urban machine, politicians, and, oh look, the angsty progressive reformer speaking to the press right now.
Let's go check it out.
I cannot fathom these political swine. All that's ever on their mind is gambling, prostitution, and money. They work their conniving fiscal charisma purely to please in order to gain everyone, and I mean everyone's, trust and likability, which, by the way, is their only claim to power. And yet these fools are taking over our beloved—
What did I do?
Get out! Anyways, as I was saying, it was a stand against the urban machine, politicians, and the uproar against deteriorating urban conditions. Let's take a look.
Why, Professor Faraday said the whole of the river was an opaque pale brown fluid in a letter to the Times.
Oh my, Thames simply must be restored.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Hey kid, there's cartoons in this one.
Ooh, yay! Overcrowded cities, poor sanitation. Ugh.
tens of thousands, homeless and begging for work, and now several thousand more, and it's all your fault.
Oh, I know. Why don't we take the heavy politics out of city management and start electing city administrators and commissioners instead? I'll call it the good government movement. Maybe one day cities all over the country will start using this system, and progressive politicians will rule the country neutrally.
And they did. The cities, I mean.
But how did all those dirty peasants attract so much attention in the media anyways?
Great question. Isle, let's go meet Jacob Reese and S.S. McClure and talk about journalism.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jacob Reese, and I wrote a book entitled How the Other Half Lives to show the whole of America what it looks like to be underprivileged in America. In this book, I compiled photographs of slums and ghettos and analyses of slum housing patterns. My book sparked a movement in journalism of uncovering the underside of America.
See how striking these images are, Isle?
Uh-huh.
Now imagine you're in this time and nobody knows people live like this. How would it make you feel?
I don't know, Miss Lizzle. I'd probably want to change some things, or at least have somebody to change things.
That's exactly the point. I wanted to change people's views on the underprivileged to a more realistic perspective, and the journalistic movement that my art started began a massive shift of people's perspectives, which allowed for change in the U.S. government.
Thanks, Jacob. And now, Isle, one of the many journalists who followed Jacob Reese's example was Mr. S.S. McClure. Let's go meet him.
Hi, I'm S.S. McClure. I started the first American large circulation magazine. I charged so little for the monthly magazine that I soon sparked a movement toward cheaper but more largely circulated magazines in America. My magazine also followed in Mr. Reese's ways and demonstrated, as he so well said, how the other half lived.
So basically, as journalism transformed and became more accessible and widespread, and also began to show not only stories targeted at the well-off people of America, real change became more tangible as so many people were able to recognize the problem.
Wow, that's correct. Good work, Isle. You're really learning.
However, as journalism became more hard-hitting and edgy, some journals and magazines began to target America's elite, like the corrupt politicians and the bigwigs paying them off.
Isle, do you remember what Upton Sinclair wrote about the corrupt elites?
Yeah, he said something like a man was trying to make as much money out of it as he could, and did not care in the least how he did it.
Sinclair used his book to poke at the rich and elites as well, but The Jungle was too much of a hit for the politicians to cover up.
I used my magazine to substantiate the claims in Sinclair's book as well, but even President Roosevelt fought us journalists, coining the term muckrakers, basically calling all of us who were exposing the corrupt politicians liars, and of course the public believed the president. This caused another huge shift in American society, and journalism began to fall apart.
Okay, Isle, do you think you understand social reform in the progressive era a little better now?
Yeah, Miss Lizzle, thanks. What's social reform?
I'm on the magic school bus. Make a plane turn two.
What did this mean for the Indians then?
sing Native
Oh yeah.
Oh my. Well, about what the natives went through.
Overcrowded.
Isle, let's go meet SS Reese and Jacob McClure.
Isle! Let's go meet SS McClure and Jacob Reese.
Hi. Hi. Hi, I'm Jacob Reese, and I wrote a book entitled How the Other Half Lives, to show the whole of America what it looks like to be underprivileged in America. In this book, I compiled photography.
Damn it, man.
And that's exactly the point. I wanted to change people's views on the underprivileged and to a more realistic way. My book sparked a movement. My book sparked a My book sparked a movement in journalism of uncovering the other side. Are you fucking kidding?
Miss Lizzle, my
What?
shoe's untied.
Not funny.
A man was trying to make as much money out of it as he could.
This is
I
going
did
down.
not care.
Wow,